Philip Baird here with Spirit Box, and we are really excited about this episode of Behind the Box. Today's guest is the number one performing Spirit Box team for a single Spirit Box in 2024. This is Park Tudor High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have Sandi Johnson, who is the advisor there, as well as a couple members of the Spirit Box team. Real quick, just give you guys some brief stats. Park Tudor High School generated over $49,000 in 2024 through their one Spirit Box, just barely edging out Tappan Zee High School out of New York, who had over 47,000 in sales. Park Tudor did almost 21,500 transactions throughout the year. And we thought this was a great opportunity to talk with them a little bit, learn about how they got started with this endeavor, and hopefully get some tips and tricks from them that will be useful to other Spirit Box teams across the country. So let's do some brief introductions. Sandi Johnson's the upper school tech integrator at Park Tudor, as well as the DECA sponsor. Welcome, Sandi and Spirit Box team. If you guys want to take just a brief minute to introduce yourselves, love to get to know you a little bit.
I'm Anjali Pai. Currently, we're both sophomores, but this is our second year ongoing with DECA. I sit on the DECA executive board as the volunteer coordinator for our machine, and this is Nora.
Hi, I'm the vice president of operations for our machine.
I'm Sandi Johnson. I'm the advisor here, and I've been in this role for approximately 6 years now. So we've grown from a very small club of 10 to this year, we have a group of 70 students in the DECA program at our school. I have a board of 6 students who help me with the vending machine and at the highest level of operation there.
That's awesome. And just kind of a funny story. In January of 24, we rolled out the top performers in 2023. And Sandi sent me an email and she said, we're going to be at the top of that list next year. And sure enough, here you guys are. So congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just a little bit competitive. I remember asking you, what's the goal? What's the amount that I have to beat to be at the top? And I don't think you had that number on the top of your head, but I was like, okay, we're just going hard. And sure enough, we got there.
I love it. Yeah. So really just wanted to kind of ask you guys, how'd you hear about the Spirit Box and what inspired you guys to go with a school store vending machine?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit to that because the girls here are kind of in our 3rd year of operations. In 2023, I started seeing ads for Spirit Box in the DECA guidebook. We were about ready to complete a project of a health and wellness center at our school. And so I got in touch with the woman who was going to run the new building at our school. I showed her the product and I said, I think that DECA could take advantage of some fundraising here and we'd like to start a little business. Can we run it out of the wellness center? We had her behind us as far as support goes. She was all on board with that. As they finished up the building, she was really integral in being that second adult with me as I was pitching with the students to the right people. She had already kind of given us approval for the space in her center a few years ago, and we did a lot of groundwork to make that happen. We originally went in front of the head of school and the assistant head of school and a couple other leaders in the school. What I found was really helpful was to not pitch the idea in front of one person. I did not want one person to say, no, you can't do this. I wanted it to be hey, we have an idea we'd like to pitch you. Who can we get in front, at the table with us? I had on my team the woman who was running the wellness center and myself and the students who had been preparing a pitch deck to give to the stakeholders. When we left that meeting, we're able to sit and discuss the pros and cons, whether, this was a project they wanted us to take on or not. And I would say that was really helpful. Don't pitch in front of one person, pitch in front of several people so it can become a discussion, which is really kind of what opened the door to letting us get the machine on site. And I think something else that kind of helped us spark the program was we had a few problems here at school that needed to be solved. We had security issues where students were leaving the school to go across the street to get food at a local gas station. So it was a constant issue that we heard about, and we wanted to kind of propose a solution for that by putting on site the machine where we could have food ready and available for our kids all the time. It kind of was one of those serendipitous, they have a big problem, we have a solution. Let's see if we can work together. And we were able to do that. So that worked out well. We also were put in front of the board of directors for our private school, and they heard the same pitch deck and were super impressed and offered donations and all sorts of fundraising options for us to get started. And we really didn't need too much. The machine kind of earned what we needed it to earn to cover the cost pretty quickly, but we did have a little bit of a boost at the beginning of the year. So that's how we got started. It was a long time ago. And now we're rolling. The girls that are here to help talk a little bit about the current year. They're in the middle of a very successful program that is really a well-oiled machine at this point, thanks to them.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about pitching the concept, because this is something that even when we talk with schools that aren't very confident they'll get approval, we really encourage them to get the students involved with developing a pitch and getting in front of people and making the pitch, because that's just a step that really any entrepreneur has to make at some point in time. Even if you get turned down, we feel that that's a really good experience for the students. So for you two, were you guys on the team that pitched the concept, or you guys kind of stepped into it when it was already implemented?
So they had already kind of gotten the machine going. Last October was when we finally had opened up the machine. We had our grand opening, but it was that previous semester before where the previous DECA boards and our co-vice presidents back then were really working with our school administration and our head of school to like get that in the works. So we weren't there, but right now what we do is monitor the operations of the machine.
Yeah, and we like promote and contribute to our vending machine success currently.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's the main purpose of the Spirit Box, is for you guys to get experience running a business in, a safe environment. I'm sure you guys have had some ups and some downs. What would you share with other Spirit Box teams as kind of some tips for managing the Spirit Box effectively?
Yeah, so I think one of our major challenges, and is something we faced at the end of last school year, is getting enough volunteers for our machine. So what we've noticed as we're operating our machine and trying to figure out how we can maximize our profit from it is what's the best way to fill it? How much inventory do we buy? How many people do we need to fill it? So what we decided on this year, and what I've been kind of working on implementing, is we currently have a spreadsheet that's available to all of our DECA members, and is something that we publish at least once a week. All 6 of our board members are reaching out to our specific teams in our categories from our club, sending out that sheet. We're telling people about it in the hallways. We're telling people about it at meetings. So we kind of have a sign up sheet it's online. You can view it from all angles, so that people are encouraged from any place they are to spend a free period and fill the vending machine. So that's kind of how we've solved that problem of not having enough people to fill the vending machine. Because if there's days that we go without a fill, then that means that's a day that we don't have anything in the machine, and that's profit we're losing. That's something we've really tried to fix coming this school year, because obviously we don't want Miss Johnson to, what she was doing last semester is she was having to, or last year, sorry, is sending out emails daily asking for volunteers, which is really an inefficient system that we really tried to fix coming in this school year, which really worked for us, having that online data sheet that people can just sign up their name, sign up their time slot. So everyone can see who's volunteering at a certain time when someone else is. And it just allows us to get the maximum amount of volunteers so that our vending machine can always be stocked.
Yeah, like Anjali said, our vending machine kind of runs out in like a day or two. It runs out really fast. So Anjali and I try to maximize the amount of volunteers so that we can fill our vending machine, keep it stocked all the time. That's why we reach out to our individual teams consisting of like 12 or more people and asking them to fill the vending machine. Sometimes when we go into competitions, we ask them to do it as a mandatory thing so that we can maximize our volunteers.
So, I mean, just to directly answer your question, we would say our biggest tip for gaining the most amount of money from your machine and running it best is by making sure you have the maximum amount of volunteers you can.
So it's fully stocked, yeah.
We also have an issue that might be unique to our school in that DECA is a club-only event at our school. And so I don't have a class that can fill the machine on a daily basis because I meet with them. I do meet with the club once a week, but we have an agenda to prep for competition and not to help fill the machine. We do need to fill on a daily basis. I used to do it every other day with the students, but that takes probably an hour's worth of my time. I determined I would rather meet the students at the machine once a day for a few minutes to refill half a machine instead of a full machine fill every other day. And that helps the students too. So I'm kind of recruiting from kids who are volunteering a free period in the day, not during a class. If you were running a class, you might assign students in the class to go out and fill, although they would miss almost an entire class period if they were eating the volume that our students are eating at our school. So that's probably, unique to us in that we're just a club-based program here running the machine.
And that's made it a lot more difficult for us to be able to garner enough volunteers for our vending machine because, like Ms. Johnson was saying, we've decided that we need people daily. So that's something we have to incentivize people. Like Nora was saying, we have mandatory shifts. We have fantasy DECA points, which I'm sure we'll touch on later, but they're basically like our group points that we have multiple different types of incentives to get people to volunteer at our machine because really they're giving back to our club that they're a part of, and it's the money that's being used to pay some of their fees at districts, for example. So we kind of advertise it as a way to give back to a club that is giving for them too.
Yeah, that very good. There were a few things I heard in there, and one that I had experience with working with a bigger company in a previous job is kind of that interdepartmental communication. So whether, we see it with DECA teams, who have multiple classes and just that communication, they might have a couple kids in each class that have some responsibility or role in the spirit box. It sounds like you guys have a really good tool for managing those communications to be as efficient as possible. Okay, so talking a little bit about products in the spirit box, can you share with us a little of information about your product mix and maybe hit on some of the best-selling products as well as maybe some products that just didn't move like you had hoped?
Yeah. We try to have a good product mix, as is important in a business. While we were designing our vending machine and coordinating with our head of school, is something they really wanted to push in our machine is also having a good mix of healthy options along with the candies, just so that we were giving people the option to choose healthy, even if they don't take it. So for us, that means maybe having like some granola bars or some protein bars or fig bars, which we try to keep stocked regularly, just to give people that alternative if they do so please. In addition to that, one of our main sellers is Sour Patch Kids, which we do keep stocked and we have multiple rows of. So yeah, we try to keep candies like Sour Patch Kids, Kit Kats, Milky Ways, things like that. We also have a variety of chips. We just try to hear what people want because really that's our customer base and those are the people who are buying our foods. In the past, we've had Google Forms that go out asking people, for example, at the beginning of this year, we had one go out about what healthy alternatives do you want to see in the vending machine? Like, for example, we had like veggie straws on there and protein bars, just having that variety and allowing people to have the opportunity to pick what they want in the machine as well.
Yeah, we try to have a balance of healthy and kind of non-healthy foods. So for example, we used to sell hot Cheetos. However, they're really bad because they have red 40 in them. So our solution to that was to sell jalapeno chips, which is still spicy, but it's a healthier version for our students.
You might mention, girls, about our cafe that we have that kind of impacted our sales a little bit too. You girls want to talk about that?
Yeah, so right next to our vending machine, we have inside of our Ursa Center, which is our wellness center, like an indoor cafe that's opens at the end of our school days. So this is kind of, we're competing for the sales at the end of the day. So the cafe may have like hot options and Gatorade and things like that that you'd find at a cafe. But our vending machine has snacks and things that is open 24/7 or as long as the Ursa Center is open for. So we kind of have to work with that cafe to figure out what we can sell. Like, for example, in our spirit box, we have decided like we're going to try and find foods that we don't have in common with them. So then people don't go back and forth, who has the cheaper option, or who has better flavors. So then we're differentiating ourselves from them. And we also try to not take away from their business because that's also part of our school. So we do that again by like choosing different options for our machine or different flavors, or like their standard thing that a lot of people buy from there is Gatorade, like I previously mentioned. So we kind of steer away from like drinks and we focus mainly on food. So yeah, we try and steer clear of taking from their business and they don't take from ours, just so we can both maximize our profits and work well as a team.
Yeah. And the cafe in the Earth Day Center used to be open in the morning, which kind of took a lot of profit from our vending machine. However, since they moved it to the end of the day, a lot of kids at our school don't have breakfast. So we started selling breakfast foods like cereal, which helps profit our vending machine and give the students the breakfast that they need.
That also goes to our healthy options too. So kids, when they feel like they walk in the morning, they want to grab a quick snack. They don't feel like they have to buy like chips or candy because that's the only thing in there. So now we have like mini muffins and Pop-Tarts and things that wouldn't necessarily be considered the most healthy of breakfast foods, but they are better than choosing maybe those Sour Patch Kids or chips early in the morning, and something that can really provide kids energy that they need during the day for schooling, which is really important while we were choosing items and how we've kind of adjusted to when the cafe hours are and how we're open all day.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about marketing and promoting your Spirit Box. Whenever you guys introduce a new product or, just letting people know where the Spirit Box is, how do you guys go about marketing and promoting your vending machine?
Yeah, so when we did first open our vending machine in the fall of 2023, we did have like our promotion of it on our Instagram. We had like our ribbon cutting and just all the posts introducing the vending machine. But honestly, since then, we have such a large customer base from our whole school. We don't feel the need to have to promote that so much because we get the profit anyway. We get the revenue from when people come and buy without having to have like a marketing post a week just solely dedicated to the vending machine. And we spend those efforts that we would be doing on like a marketing post for the machine on marketing specific things about our DECA chapter, like upcoming event we have or preparing for an event. So we try to spend our marketing efforts in other places since we already know that our customers will be buying from the vending machine. But with that being said, we also have things. If we do have new products, sometimes we'll post them on our Instagram. I know in the past, if we have had like Valentine's Day items that we put in the vending machine, we go ahead and post that on our Instagram just so it kind of builds up the hype. And when we decorate the machine, sometimes we'll put some like stickers just to make it seem festive. So that's kind of something we want to show our members too. It's something fun that we've tried to make the experience more interesting for people who come to the vending machine, make it different. So if we do like dress it up or something, that's something we'll post as well. Also for promotions, we do post that towards our fall break time. So in October of this year, we had a $1 sale for select items. So that's something we also did put on our Instagram because we wanted to kind of like fall clean out our vending machine so that we didn't have a bunch of old items. And we thought it'd be better rather than like let those items expire, allow them to be sold for a cheaper price so then we can still make money on it and allow people to buy those so we don't have to just merely throw them away. So yeah, we kind of, in regards to your question, we market some new items and especially when we have sales, but we've found that since our customer base is so persistent, we don't need to have to market every single thing that's going on with our vending machine.
Yeah, and when we were still relatively new, we, instead of just posting on the Instagram, we have a monitor in our hallway where we would take photos of the food saying like, oh, there's a new snack option in the vending machine, go check it out. This helps show the students in the hallway that there's new food, they should go see it, hopefully buy it, which promotes our vending machine.
We also promote our volunteers of the week. We have a QR code inside the inventory closet that all of our volunteers will scan and just register that they were there that day. It's only accessible to students who are in the inventory closet filling, so it's not in a public place where everybody can scan it. Our girls will just kind of track that, give kids points that are showing up, and then we take pictures of kids at the machine and post those in our monitors in the hallways to kind of promote like who was super helpful this week or who earned the most points for their fantasy team. We have a fantasy DECA program running here where they're getting points based on teams that they're on for various things as well.
That's smart. So other students see that and encourages them to maybe volunteer in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as we've set up that Google form. And so we can access exactly how many people have volunteered at the vending machine, give or take when tech issues have been involved. But we can see who's been involved with our machine, and that allows us to give credit to those people. And I know we're going to have a marketing post out soon with which I've been coordinating with our marketing director about the top volunteers we had for last semester. And that's something like we're going to be incentivizing others to come volunteer at our machine because they see that, oh, these people have volunteered. For example, our most was 4 shifts. They volunteered 4 shifts, so maybe I should try and do 4 shifts so I can be the top one for next semester. So it really just helps them see like an exact number too for when we do market our vending machine, how much they have to do and how much they should do to be involved with our club.
Yeah, it kind of prompts them to volunteer more for next semester and hopefully do better so that they can get the top spot.
Smart. So let's talk a little bit about the location of your spirit box. So where's the spirit box located, and like who has access to it and when?
So the spirit box right now is located in our wellness center, which is basically our gym. And it's basically located in a hallway that goes towards our locker rooms. And since we have such an open layout in our gym, you can really see it when you walk in, you can see it when you walk down the stairs. It's pretty open to all people who are coming into our gym. And we find that even if you don't know it's there, it kind of just pops up at you, which we think is very good. So then no matter which angle you're coming from, you can just see, oh, there's a machine, I'm hungry. So we found that that's a really good placement for our machine. And especially since it's close to the cafe, if you were thinking of going to the cafe, but it's closed, then you can look right down the hallway and there's our vending machine. So that kind of allows us to get the customers from their cafe, if it was closed, to our vending machine as well. And we also know that our gym is the communal place for our campus because our campus houses all ranges. We have pre-K through 12th grade, which means we not only have the 400 people in our high school, but the 1,000 kids on our campus. So when we put it in the gym and not just the high school, we can get all the kids who are gathering in this central area to be able to come and buy something from the vending machine. Because if we were just to put it in the high school, it's harder for our middle school kids to get to the high school or our lower school kids to buy something. So really putting in the gym has allowed us to have a central location and to really maximize the amount of customers we can get from our campus.
Yeah, it's in a very obvious place and it's accessible to everyone. So it helps us profit a lot because everyone can see it. It's very obvious.
It's open 24/7 for the most part, even on the weekend when other schools come for games and things like that to play basketball or even baseball. Our locker rooms are in that facility. There's a lot of families that go through there on the weekend, which is nice. If we had placed it in the high school, which is where the club is based out of, it would be closed at 5 p.m. at night and locked on the weekend. So we had a lot of discussion around where it would be accessible to the most people, most hours to maximize our profit. And it really works well. Sometimes the machine is half full going into a weekend, and after the weekend events are over, we're empty. So it's great to have that opportunity for guests on campus as well.
Yeah, so talking about profit a little bit, you guys generated over $49,000 in total revenue. What margins are you guys, trying to achieve, or what does the bottom line mean to you guys? And what do you do with the profits?
This is our first full year running the machine. It was primarily experimental. We really had no idea what kind of profits we'd be looking at. We had one sort of loan to start the machine, and we paid that off within the first month. We had to pay off the machine itself, which we just allocated a monthly payment, and within 4 months, we had paid that off. Again, surprised. We were expecting to take the entire year to make payments, but we felt we were free and clear pretty early on, and we were pretty excited. At that point, we were unsure what the summer would bring, and it turned out we had summer schools, camps here, and the little kids even figured out pretty quick they were going to all go through the wellness center every day, and they started bringing their cash. So we had pretty good sales over the summer too. Our challenge there was I don't have students on campus in the summer, so I did kind of take over restocking for the summer. I'm not sure what we'll do. We do have high school volunteers that come on and teach some of those summer camps, but they're generally busy with the kids and can't break away for an hour to fill the machine. And sales were slower, but they were there. So we were happy to see that provided a little boost to our bottom line. And then We went to ICDC this year, which we took 11 kids at about 2,000 a head. So we're looking at $22,000 to get our kids to that event. And then my goal became, can we just get our kids paid for internationals? I think we did better than that. We got to the point where we've talked about it in our board meetings. How do we want to spend this money? And typically we were asking our upper school division director for money for district registrations, which gets quite expensive, several $1,000s to get us all there. And then she was also paying for our state registrations, which is $70 a head. And that was several $1,000s. And we were growing at the same time. So we really thought, let's make it equitable for everybody to try DECA. We took some of our money and put it towards those registration costs without having to ask for the payments from our division director, which were never expected to be paid back. She supports various clubs, but our club was getting expensive. I think we've been pleasantly surprised. We'll be tracking again what a second year of profits looks like, how consistent we can be. And I think some of it has been, I was rushing over to fill that machine every time it was empty. And I'm a little less likely to do that now just because of time. And I know we're doing very well and we have plenty of money that we need to run our club, but we want to stay as consistent as possible. So I would say as a top selling machine, we can run our club of 70 students very well. There are some students who might have to supplement some of the costs that are needed for travel, but our board of 6 will be taken care of. They're our hardest workers. They're doing the legwork, and we cover that. And a majority of our first run competitions will also be covered so that everybody has a chance to try DECA. And then the ones who advance beyond that will have a proportion of their fees covered based on their volunteerism and participation in meetings and things like that. Our fantasy DECA that we mentioned before, the more they participate there, the more they might get from our machines as part of their payments as they go through the program.
Yeah, I feel like that's a huge incentive too, to continue to grow your team. It sounds like you guys have been shattering your goals as far as membership goes, even with it being a club and not a class. One of the primary responsibilities, it sounds like, is restocking the machine, which is a good challenge to have, right? Do you guys have other roles? It'd be interesting to hear how you guys manage the finances, cash in the machine, how you guys track that. Any other operational roles that students take on within the Spirit Box?
Yeah, another
Store?
important thing that we have going is, which Miss Johnson also takes the lead on, is buying inventory. So we find that we need to buy inventory maybe once every week, once every couple weeks, just to man like the everyday refills and just the amount of customers we have coming and buying from the machine. Those can run us about 1,000 an order, which it's a pretty mass amount of money from our machine. So we try and make sure we have enough vending refills, which is something I work with, to make sure that we're putting all that inventory in so then it can be bought as soon as possible and we can keep buying more inventory.
I'm going to jump in for just a second
Okay,
related to inventory. Your machine requires space for inventory. So it requires a lot of space. Things from Costco and Amazon come in large boxes, and we don't have a lot of storage space. We were given a very small closet, a corner of a closet to begin the program, and we outgrew that really quickly. And I ended up having to buy carts and shelves and kind of move in. We're squished into a closet with a lot of other things. So that's something that you want to think about when you get your machine. If you're restocking a very well-used machine, inventory needs a lot of space, more than the machine itself. Realistically, there's more boxes in the corner of our closet than is the size of the machine itself. And if you want to keep it full, you have to keep that stocked. So that's one of the issues with inventory. And then I'm sorry to interrupt you girls, but go ahead and if there's anything else related to operations you wanted to talk about.
Is there, any advice from the student standpoint or from an advisor standpoint that you guys would share with other schools that are maybe considering a Spirit Box or really just a vending machine in general?
Yeah, I would say from the volunteer standpoint is it's really important to think about like every aspect of the machine. So there's parts that you have to really think in detail. How often do you want the machine filled? How often do you want inventory to be bought? So I would say for us, what I would think is really useful for new schools who are thinking about the process of buying a spirit box is really trying to plan out a week in the life of having a spirit box. Where are you going to put that inventory? How many volunteers are you going to need? Or maybe surveying students, see how much they would be buying a week. Because it's really important to see how much money you're going to have to be spending on operations to run your machine. So maybe a tip for that starting up is just surveying your students and seeing what a week in the life of having a spirit box would be like at your specific school.
Yeah, sort of correlating to Anjali's, I think if a new school were to get a spirit box, I think they should think long term, like think about how long it's going to take to pay off the debt, how often you need to refill the machine, like how many members there are, and just kind of think ahead and kind of determine the successes of your machine.
And I'll reiterate that I don't think you can pitch this idea to a single person and not expect pushback. It's a big endeavor. People are going to want to know how you're going to manage this. What happens when you get tired of doing this? What happens if you retire? What happens if, there's always a what if. But if you come with the students well prepared, and my students gave the entire pitch deck to the administration, they're impressed, one, with the business knowledge of your students. They're impressed with the thoroughness of their presentation. They're ready to showcase their students to people outside of their little circle, and it becomes this bigger discussion before you're told no. I would also say, don't be afraid to jump in and try this. I knew nothing about vending machines. I knew nothing about starting a business. I don't have a business degree. I'm an educator. And it was super simple to start. Somebody came and delivered it, set it up, took us through training. The machine is really easy to use. I can't say that enough. We've had one issue the entire year and we have service at our fingertips, so it was not a problem at all. I've learned how to work the machine. It's not complicated. You don't have to be an engineer to run the thing. It's a pretty smart computer. It's a pretty smart machine. I like to tell the kids we have the Mercedes of all machines in our school. It's that fancy. And they laugh about that. It's super engaging. The students love it. It vends 3 products at a time, which lets kids go in and buy for their friends right there, as they're buying things for themselves. Very convenient, very easy to use. We have just really enjoyed the process. And I can't say enough about the support team we've had here and just watching you guys grow, helping us grow. It's been great.
Well, thank you so much for that. And one final question, if you have a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Have you guys, so we've had some schools that experienced early success. I mean, nothing like you guys have over this past year, but we have multiple schools now that have multiple machines. One school in Kansas just went from 1 to 5. And so curious if you guys have had any thoughts about, part of it kind of mitigates the traffic to a single machine, as well as it also requires less stocking when you do have multiple machines. Instead of storing those extra snacks in a closet, you guys are just essentially putting them in a second machine for sale. Have you guys thought about expanding your Spirit Box operations, or are you guys just like, hey, we're good with where we're at right now, crushing it?
Yeah, I think if it wasn't accessible to a certain population, if I felt like, hey, middle schoolers will never see this machine, or, families can't get to this, I would consider it. But we really have a centralized location, and our school is an open campus where our high school students, when they have free periods, can go wherever they want. So they can access it all day, every day. And again, it's open to our visitors that come on campus on the weekends. I spend so much time, and I'm really the only adult with the key to the machine. I spend so much time filling once a day, at least once a day. I don't want another machine. We've been asked many times, can we put a drink machine next to it? Because the kids want drinks. But there's a couple reasons why I might say no to that. One is the school has a contract with Pepsi, because we do have 5 other vending machines on site in the teacher's lounge. So students don't have access to those at all, and they're just filled through our contract, our food service contracts. And I don't want to compete with them. I don't want to work through them. I really like kind of being independent, which is what we're doing. But I don't see a need for a second one. It would create more work for me, I think, to run to different buildings to keep things full, just to maybe have less time, between fills. I still think these kids would eat all of it. Even if we put in more machines, they would be emptying 3 machines a day instead of 1 machine a day. They just eat that much. We are from a very affluent area. Students have credit cards, students have Apple Pay, students have, the ability to purchase things without even seeing the money leaving their pockets, which is interesting. In fact, I think right now our machine is sitting at about 60,000 in profit since we've opened the machine, and 10,000 of that is cash and the rest of it is cashless. So if we didn't have that component set up, we would have lost out on $50,000 worth of sales. So we definitely wanted to add that component to the machine. It's well worth the fee we have to pay to have that happen. That's clearly why we're profiting. It's really funny to listen to the kids. I'll see a kid walk by and I'll be like, "Oh, hey, Bobby, are you coming to buy today?" He's like, "No, I'm banned from the machine. I spent $100 in it last week." I'm like, "Oh, you're our top customer though. Come on back next week when you've earned the money back." I have kids that are telling me they're working jobs themselves, so they don't have a limit. They can spend whatever money they want in there. It's really funny when the machine is open to be restocked. Kids of all ages are walking by and they scream, "It's being refilled." They're so excited. They just like to look inside the machine and see how it works. It's really gained a lot of business interest too. And I love, love, love how that piece has woven into our DECA club. Every time a new student volunteers, I teach them the business of the machine. I talk numbers with them. I show them, we kind of make estimates as projecting to, what if I had 5 machines? How much could this make if we had a route? And, that kind of thing. And that you see their eyes light up. This is a legit business and you could do this for a living, and they get all excited. So it's just been a great teaching experience, even without a class, even without having an operations class that would clearly go hand in hand with this. We use the curriculum lightly. You guys had sent us a curriculum package with the machine, and I looked through it, and it's really something I kind of did with a little bit of woven in with my executive board kids, but very lightly. I think there's so much to talk about without having to make it really formal. You could make it formal, but you don't have to, and you can still get a lot out of it. I just make a point to teach them something whenever we open that machine up. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Something you said about the cashless. We started 12 years ago when Spiritbox first started, being able to see all the sales across the country. It was 70% cash and about 30% cashless or credit card. And now we're seeing almost the exact flip of that. Now it's about 30% cash and 70% cashless. You had talked about that fee. For somebody who might be watching this that is considering a Spiritbox or just thinking about how the cashless works. Spiritbox owns that relationship with the credit card processing company, so schools don't have to set up that credit card account in the school name. We found that was a challenge early on. And then there's a 5% flat fee that we apply and then cut you guys a check for the cashless sales. For us internally, and we're always looking for ways to get better. Is that a process that you guys appreciate, or is there something we could do better there, or really just across the board as a company? Because that's how we've grown, is basically just listening to customer input and implementing, changes that customers are requesting.
I don't think there's anything different I would request. I think we would have been rejected the opportunity to run credit card sales if we had to manage it through the school. The school would not have wanted to run a separate account just for us or track any of that. And so you guys offering that was essential in us having that feature on the machine, or we would have been just cash only and our sales would have never come anywhere near what they are today. I always talk to the kids, hey, look, when I say we pay somebody 5% to manage our credit card purchases, they're shocked and they're like, what? That doesn't seem right. And I said, well, we can pay somebody 5% and earn $50,000, or we can not pay the 5% and we would have lost that $50,000 worth of sales. So it kind of opens their eyes as to why you want to partner with companies that are willing to manage a piece for you so that you can make more profit. They see the value in that. I appreciate the value of that. I think it's just, we get our check. I look at the numbers. There's no situation where I would say we don't want to be doing this. It's really critical to our success. There's so many fun components in the machine too, not just that. The machine is very attractive. It's got a little computer screen in it with some graphics on it. And I think you had mentioned something that there's an opportunity to do some marketing in there. We haven't really explored that, like running little commercials on the screen. I'd be curious about kind of looking into that. Not that we need more profit, but it's an interesting idea that we can have companies partner with us and run their commercials through us and pay us a little bit of money, or however that works. So maybe next year we'll look at that.
Yeah. There's schools have come up some really cool ideas with not only that screen, but really what we've found is kind of the most effective way to do that is schools have attached 32-inch TVs to the top of their spirit box very easily. We have a blog post about it, kind of the easiest way to add, and they call them digital displays or digital billboards. It's a great way to promote DECA, sell maybe even advertisements to local community businesses or other groups within the school, and to promote products in the spirit box. So I'll send you guys a link to that to get those ideas rolling.
Something else I thought I'd mention too. Well, two things. One, I wanted to talk about, we are located in a dead zone in our school. So the Wi-Fi was a little bit of an issue. We got a booster through you guys that allowed us to access the power we needed for the kids to be able to use the credit card. So that might be something you think about when they choose a location for the machines. What kind of Wi-Fi access do they have? I went to our tech director and he was sure it was going to work and be fine. Sure enough, it's in the one hallway that has a dead zone. So we were able to overcome that. Just be aware of that. And something else you mentioned before, just about marketing and advertising. Some fun ideas that we've talked about is we talked about rent a row, and what we wanted to maybe do is offer other clubs to rent a row in our machine, either for a flat fee, and then they could stock it as much as they wanted to and earn profits on it per month. So maybe the Asian club could come and put in some of their snacks that they would sell at a bake sale, but in our machine, and kind of give back to some of the other clubs in our school. That was one idea we were tossing around at one point. And then another one somebody just came up to me about and asked was, she's kind of got an entrepreneurial spirit and she had made some bracelets, and we had talked about maybe us launching an entrepreneur launch row in our machine, where if you have an idea and you can package it in a little packages that fit in our machine, we could maybe help you launch your business with some sales in the first month, and they could do their own advertising and we can support them. I mean, clearly we're here to give back, a little bit to the community, and everybody's curious and interested in different ways we can use the machine. And we've bounced a lot of great ideas around. There's just so much you can do, even just in the holidays. We've bought the giant bags of lollipops and thrown them in the machine, and somebody will buy them and give them out to all their friends for big bucks. We sell them for $10 a bag, and they just buy them and give them to their friends. I got so many thoughts. I mean, I could probably talk on this forever too, but one of the things we noticed in the stats you sent out was that the school behind us, in number of vends, they had twice as many vends as we had, and they were just behind us. So we talked about, like, what does that mean? That means we're probably pricing our items 2 times more than they are, obviously. And we're setting kind of high prices on our food, and it's probably relative to the city we live in. I don't know where all these other machines are, but we're able to get $2.50 for a bag of chips and $2.50 for a piece of candy. And we do offer $1 items, like little Debbie cakes and things that are smaller for people who don't have as much in their pockets. But we push the envelope in profits. We definitely do. And we justify it by what we're spending our profits on, that this is to get our club to competitions, and thank you for your support and thank you for shopping with us. Nobody seems to have a problem anymore because they're just getting the food they want. So push that envelope with the pricing. I think it's worth it. I mean, obviously you don't want to take advantage of the kids, but I think it's a reasonable amount when you look at what they were paying at the gas station across the street. Those prices were pretty high too. We're pretty consistent with our pricing in there too.
Yeah, and talking about cash and cashless, when we first launched our vending machine, I saw that they only had cash, and I think the profits were a lot slower then. So when we got access to having credit cards and debit cards, that's when our vending machine really took off, and we made a lot of profits through that. A lot of people carry debit cards or credit cards through their phone cases and not a lot of cash, which is what contributes to a lot of our profits, which is why I think it's really good for a lot of vending machines and like spirit boxes to have cashless.
That's good. And when you guys are talking about the signal to the spirit box for cashless transactions, so each spirit box actually has a cell phone signal in it. We run into challenges with that. A lot of these spirit boxes are downstairs surrounded by cinder blocks. I guess conducting cashless transactions over a cell tower versus Wi-Fi, it's way more encrypted and safe. So that's why they implemented that technology in this box. But yeah, that booster that we sent you guys, it seems to solve that issue for any school that's having that signal. Talking about the transaction fees too, because that's a real expense that companies have to consider. It's interesting with vending machines because the average transaction amount is way lower through a vending machine than say like a brick and mortar clothing store or really any other type of operation. You're looking at $1, $2, $3 transactions. So that fee for us is actually 5.9%, which is crazy. And it just kind of like creeps up a little bit each year. We have held that at a flat 5% for spirit box teams just to keep it simple. But yeah, transaction fees, some companies don't accept credit cards for that reason, or somehow figure out a way to, a convenience fee that they pass on to the customer.
That's another justification. If you said, why are you charging $2.50 for a Snickers bar? And you could talk about the credit card fees on top of that are most likely what the kids are using to buy those items. So it helps cover that a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's so much here, and I have a feeling this won't be our last interview with you guys. You dove a little bit into the price elasticity on demand and the convenience factor that's being offered on being able to charge a premium for convenience. Talking about just various pricing strategies. The school in New York that has twice as many vans, I know that their pricing strategy has been really minimizing margins and maximizing top revenue. So every spirit box is ran differently. A lot of times we have schools asking us about like, what's the best way to do it? And it's like, even within one school district, you go down the road from one school to the next and it's completely different products, different marketing strategies, pricing strategies. So really is kind of like figuring out the best fit. You guys were quick to do that, obviously. And it seems like you have just an amazing operation going on. So we appreciate you all so much. Thank you for your time. Sandi Johnson with Park Tudor High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, DECA sponsor and the upper school tech integrator. These guys generated $49,146 in sales in 2024 with almost 21,500 transactions. So hats off to you and your DECA students. And we're excited to see where you all go from here.
Thank you so much.
Us too. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in Orlando at ICDC, correct?
We will be there.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye.